Hi everybody, and welcome back to Donny Boy 73, the small engine doctor. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the shift lever on your Craftsman snowblower. This video will also apply to Husqvarna snowblowers and Poulan Pro snowblowers. This is the part I'll be replacing, and this part here is located inside the transmission and it acts as the shift lever when you switch gears. Now the first thing I'm going to do is remove both wheels from the snowblower. All you need to do is pull the pin here, and now just pull the wheel. And just repeat the process on the other wheel. Now at this point I'm going to remove the bottom belly pan. You're going to need to remove the bolt over here, one over here, and two down here. And to do this I'm going to use a 1/2 inch socket and a ratchet. Now that the 4 bolts are off, the cover is going to come completely off. Now what we need to do is remove the small pin right here. Just grab it and pull it right out. Now you can disconnect it. Now you'll need to remove this pin over here. And again, with a good pair of needle nose pliers, just pull it out. And now grab this spring over here and disconnect it. And you may as well take it right off. Now on the right hand side of the blower, you need to remove this nut over here at the end of the shaft. To do this, you're going to need an adjustable wrench. Reach in and lock it in on the shaft over here, just so that the shaft doesn't turn when you take that nut off. And now remove this nut over here. And you want to get this washer off as well. Now go to the other side of the blower on the left hand side. On this side of the blower, you're going to have to remove these 2 1/2 inch bolts over here. Now at this point, just leave it there. It's not going to come off unless you push the shaft, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And before I go any further, I'm going to show you the shifter lever that I'm going to replace, and it's right here. As you can see, it's got a bit of wear and tear on it, and that's from rubbing on the friction wheel over here. And this is a flaw on this particular model of snowblowers. Hopefully the manufacturer has made some changes to this problem since then. Now what I need to do is remove this bolt over here. And there's another bolt like it on this side that I've partially removed. They need to be completely off this machine. And again, just use your 1/2 inch socket with your ratchet. So when you take these bolts off, you're going to see that the bracket here is coming loose. And now this bracket's going to come right off. Now what you need to do is reach inside, grab the shaft, and pull it to the left. You're going to see that the shaft has come out of the bearing here on the right hand side of the blower, and that it's protruding like this on the other side. On the left hand side of the blower, you can see the gear and the flange is still attached to the bearing. So at this point what I'm going to do is pull a bit more on the shaft. I'm going to move the wheel to the right. Now grab the pin over here and pull it toward you. It's just going to slide out. It's going to stay in the bracket, but that's okay for now. And now just pull the whole assembly right out of the transmission. Now that I have the whole assembly off, I'm going to retrieve the pin and install it into the new shift lever. So you want to make sure that you insert the pin in the new one in the exact same position, just like this. It's very simple, just pull it out and now install it in the new one. The part number for this lever is part number 178619 from AYP, and this is what it's actually called, lever speed control. Probably this lever would have been good for a while, but the gentleman that I'm fixing it for just wanted everything fixed as preventive maintenance. Now that that's done, I'm ready to reinstall it in the snowblower. Now with the part in this position in your hands, scoot up right inside the transmission. You want to insert the pin in here. And you want to line up the part of the shifter to this groove over here because it needs to come up through it. So I'm just going to go up like this, put the lever through, and now just line up the pin in the hole. You may have to force it a bit, and there it is. Now grab the whole friction wheel assembly, have it in this position here. This part must be facing the left-hand side of the blower. You want to reach down inside the transmission. You want to line up the 2 metal shafts on the friction wheel to the grooves in the shift lever. So you may have to move things around just to get everything to fit. And now while you're holding everything, you want to slide the shaft through the friction wheel assembly. So grab the shaft on the left hand side of the blower, move it in, and slide it right through the assembly here. And you're going to see it come out the other side. Now you want to get this through the bearing over here on the right hand side of the blower. And here's the shaft coming out on the other side. Now I'm going to install the washer and the lock nut over here. And remember to lock up the shaft here to tighten up the nut so the whole shaft doesn't turn freely. And you want to make sure that this nut is fairly tight. It is a lock nut, so it's not going to come off by itself. On this side of the blower, you want to line up the flange to the two holes over here. And then install the two bolts. And you also want to make sure that these bolts are fairly tight. Now you'll need to reinstall this bracket. And it's going to go in this position here. Just push it in right through here. And you want the pin here to go into the bracket. Now you can reinstall this clip over here. It just slides in the groove at the end of the shaft. And now you'll need to line up the bracket here where there's a hole. As you can see right here. Once it's lined up, just reinstall the bolt. You may have to wiggle the bracket inside just to get the bolt to go in properly. Don't tighten up the bolt yet. First I'm going to line up the bracket to the hole on the other side and install the bolt there. And now I'm going to tighten it up. And don't forget to do the other side over here. Here's a quick tip I'm going to share with you when you're putting this bracket on. If you end up tightening the bolt and the thread strip, all you have to do is add a nut on the other side of it. I did this on both sides because the bolts were just turning in the void and they weren't really tightening up the bracket. By putting the nuts, it's on there permanently. It's never going to fall off or get loose. What I'm going to do now is reattach this spring. It attaches on the bracket up here and into the hole here on the shift lever. You can just pull the spring and put it in there. Now I'm going to reattach this shaft to the lever hole right here and then insert this small clip into the hole over here and just push it down. Now what you want to do is test the whole mechanism by moving the shift lever on the console. And everything should be moving like this. I'm just going to apply a bit of lithium grease on the shaft where the friction wheel slides on. If you don't use a low temperature grease, what's going to happen is the shift lever is going to be hard to move when it's cold out because the grease will be too hard. With the lithium grease, this prevents this problem. You don't want to put too much grease because it can fall off and get on the friction disc and then your transmission may slip. It's very critical that you do not get any grease on this disc or the friction wheel over here. Now at this point in the operation, I'm going to reinstall both wheels. Before doing this, it's always good to apply a low temperature grease on the shafts where the wheels go. Now just slide the wheel on. You want to rotate it until you feel it lock into place. And here it is. And now I'm just going to reinstall the pin. And now I'm just going to repeat the process on the other side with the grease and then reinstall the wheel in the same way. Now I'm going to apply the same grease on the gears. Just rotate the wheels and the gears will turn. Watch your fingers. Don't put too much grease because again it could fly off and go on the friction wheel parts. And then your transmission would slip. This procedure here should be done every year actually. Before I reinstall the belly pan, I'm just going to have a quick look inside the transmission again to make sure that everything is okay. Just double check all the work you've done, make sure all the springs are attached and all the small clips like this one, and make sure there's no grease on these parts over here. And if everything's okay, you're ready to reinstall the belly pan on. When you reinstall the belly pan on this snowblower, you want to make sure that the groove over here on the pan fits right over the bar over here, just like this. And you want to make sure that the tabs here at the top of the pan go inside the snowblower transmission housing. And now you can reinstall the bolt over here. And there's a bolt on the other side as well. And there are the two bolts at the bottom here. And don't over tighten these because you can easily strip the threads. So now you're pretty well done installing the part. Before we continue though, I'm just going to show you a few critical parts that you should lube. You can lube all the moving parts over here and here. Don't spray any through the hole here because it could get on the friction wheel parts. And if it's dripping, just be quick to wipe it up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.